Yeah, and they post if you civilizing somebody, you teaching them cleanliness is next to godliness. If you civilizing them, you teaching them how to organize and keep stuff in a systematic order so that they can more smoothly run society. Why when they get over here, you see how he described America?
Yeah.
They still don't know how to take a bath.
Yeah.
Let it sink in.
They were
The
peeing in
grievance
pots.
over is in the statues over there. It's in the art. The problem that they vexing is the abuse of the children, using the children for adrenochrome and sex toys. That's their grievance why they was getting rid of the so-called Moors, right? They created all three monotheistic religions out of Coptic doctrine, fused with Babylonian blood magic. Babylonian money magic, Babylonian sex magic. That's being taught in the Talmud and the Mishnah, and then they giving you something called the Torah as if that's the book of their tribe. The Torah is the book of the law, right? And as soon as they can get you to take sides with somebody in their book, they got you. You taking side with the people that's doing all the dirt in the whole book. Ain't none of the other people in the book doing the dirt but these people. And they supposed to be God's people, but we forget that the devil is God too, according to their doctrine. Right? The only thing he don't got the power to is to F you up without God permission. But as we see in Job, if God give him the permission, he can ping pong you all around the land and give you the worst miserablest life he could possibly conjure up in his wicked mind.
Wow.
Right?
That's right.
So what make you think you better than Job in God's eyes? Because he said Job was a righteous and upright man, and God knew
Top line.
Job wasn't gonna never curse the name of the Most High. Do what they tell us in the book. But God, the same one who named he won't curse, the same one who he's staying faithful, dedicated, and loyal to is the same one sick the devil on. Because the devil didn't ask first. God sick the devil on him. He didn't. The devil didn't say, "Hey, man." He said, "Hey, what you doing here?" I was roaming back and forth to and fro, looking for who I may devour. Right? And he said, "Well, wait a minute. I got one for you, player. You see my boy Job? You see my boy Job over there, right? Pimping ain't easy, baby. Watch how this is the most loyal one I ever had put on the track."
That's facts.
And then he said, "Yeah, I would go ahead and I would go at it, but you got all your, protection around him and everything, and them bodyguards Job got ain't no joke." But he said, "No, I'm gonna pull him off. I'm gonna let you have your way with Job. Only thing you just can't kill Job. And in the end of the day, Job can come back home." So look, the devil go attack Job. So what make you think you better than Job that God won't ransom and gamble you? And what kind of God would ransom and gamble his most loyal subject?
Number one guy.
His number one guy. Why would you ransom him? Why would you offer him up to the enemy as bait? For what? Oh, he was just testing you. Just wanted to, I thought he knew.
Yeah.
He knew, but he wanted to prove to the devil. Why he got to prove something if he God?
That's crazy.
Right? So they got us following they edicts so we can be trapping ourselves in their own conjure by deliberately choosing ignorance over information.
That's right. And something
where we informed at the same time.
Right. And then so from my understanding, overstanding, that King James them didn't bring the Bible at first. They came in 1607, and then they said, "Oh, we got to come up with something that we can enslave them with." And it took them 4 years later with 1611 when they came back with the joint. They didn't come back with the joint really heavy till the like after that. You know what I'm saying? A couple years later.
You got to keep in mind. Okay, so at this time, Nobody's bringing no religious books yet. We in full throttle warfare with Spanish exiles.
Yeah. Yeah.
With French exiles.
Yeah.
With English outcasts. Remember, they try to tell us that the colonies was made up of English outcasts.
Yeah, convicts. And
Prisoners, the prostitutes from the brothels.
Yeah. Yeah.
But during the Moorish reign, who owned the brothels?
The Moors.
Think about that for a minute. So if the brothels was owned by the Moors, then who owned the prisons?
The Moors.
Had to.
Yeah.
Because they were supposed to be the civilized ones on the land, teaching the other ones how to be civilized.
Right.
But they ain't teaching them civilization. Because we know that because they had jails over there and they had prostitutes over there and they had orphans over there that they was trying to dispose of.
Go ahead.
How do we know that? Because they said that they came over here with their indentures who was exiles from the crown to work the land.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How you gonna work somebody else's land? Make it make sense.
Right.
How you gonna get us how you gonna get us in there where the people who landed is not gonna rebel?
Yeah.
Right? We're gonna hire you as a consultant firm. Right? So they tell the story to move them in and give them Big Mama Farm.
Yeah.
But all the time, the people that's giving them the farm is the ones who's selling the land, not the people from the land.
Right.
Right? And they're using the paperwork as the verification of their right to do so. But it's only one problem. All of the tribes over here was matrilineal and didn't believe in selling land.
That's right.
So when we understand that part of it, we know that anybody that's selling land for any reason other than deception and force, which is 99% of the reason. And if they was forced into selling the land, or if they was defrauded into it by using trickery and deception through sharecropping agreements, we know from that paper trail that the sharecroppers, where they get the land from.
Right.
When you go back to you could Google this. The most heirs land in America right now is owned to African Americans, as they call us.
Go ahead.
How do we got heirs land and we ain't never been allowed to buy no land until the 1970s? They wouldn't let us buy land. They wouldn't let us sell land, trade land. They wouldn't let us in none of their learning institutions or higher learning. So they doing all this in our face, behind our back.
Right.
And we got to figure out how to take them over while they trying to take us over.
They said that on that. It's a tape that I got coming out about the Lewis and Clark expedition. And they said that when they came through, there was some people on the land. And then they came to them, knocked on the door, and then they come to him and say, "Look, man, you can either sell this land." And they're like, "Oh well, I don't sell. We're gonna sell land. We don't even know what that is."
Hold on. You overlooking what you're saying.
Yeah.
Look, they had a translator, didn't they?
Yeah, Ben York.
And who was he talking to that he needed to translate the language for Lewis and Clark?
The Native Americans.
And how far across the land did they go before they turned around and came back?
They went all the way up into Washington, past Oregon, Washington, all the way up into Seattle.
Ain't that the Pacific coast over there?
Yeah. They
okay.
went to the Pacific coast.
And they needed a translator at several places between, right?
Yeah. Pretty much the
Lakota people. It had to be people. It had to be people there.
Yeah.
It had to be. You don't need a translator to go across a barren land that don't got no people.
Damn sure right. He had a dog with him too. Ben York had a dog, and he had an assistant. Ben York had an assistant with him, like because Ben York was like a hunter, like, and he was real cast man. You know how the Moors, they think they playboys or whatever. But this another thing it said that was interesting. It said that Lewis and Clark told them that you can stay here on the land, but you got to sign this paperwork saying that you changed your status, and we'll let you stay on the land. Pretty much, they went around sharecrop, turning all the natives that was on the land into sharecroppers, and by stealing their birth.
Okay, so that was the North American salvage right.
Okay, go ahead.
You gotta remember that when they said that we crashed, we had to crash. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Oh yeah, it did say something about that too, about the savage rights and the abandoned land.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Lewis and Clark were surveyors.
That's right.
Right. And being York was more than a surveyor.
Yeah.
He served as the official translator on record, but he was the actual operative geologists, geometrists, geologists on the land.
Right. He could tracker. He was a good tracker.
They tell you all the stuff he could do when you read they tell you a lot about him, and they don't use his name.
Yeah.
Why do they? We know who it is, but when they telling the story, they always say the black slave.
Yeah. Yeah. Enslaved man.
Who was the slave master of being York?
They said it was Lewis and Clark. That's a lot, though.
It's not possible.
It's too many.
Because he was born. Look, being York was born a free man of Negro descent as the son of Old York, and his wife, in Virginia.
Yeah.
Right? A free man. He was born a free man, and now he is the designer, the first almanac, because we know being Beta be Benjamin Banneker.
Right. I heard that story too. I heard that.
Right? That's who he is. Yeah. Now, the irony of it all is his fez is in the Fez Memorial at the George Washington Masonic Memorial as one of the dirty Moors that we've been fighting. And his offspring. Right? This is why they don't tell us who this is traveling across the land with Lewis and Clark in the Lewis and Clark story. But when we study the story of Benjamin Banneker and how he learned all of these languages by the time he was 21, and then we learned that he was the one who wrote the first almanac, made the first clock in North America. What the hell you mean clock when the Mayan clock been here for thousands of years? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So what do you mean the first clock? Now we talking about tying in the clock of destiny with the Big Ben clock in London by tying Big Ben to the clock of destiny in America in the Moorish paradigm. They telling you exactly who they are, but they telling them that they hiding among you.
Look, so you thinking that because 1806 is when they said they get a storyline. I got the whole storyline of Benjamin Banneker about to come out too. I already did the storyline already a long time ago. I'm just gonna redo it. But they said that in 1806, that the Knights of Templar raided his house, burned it down, stole some paperwork, whatever paperwork he had, and then they also said that he was working with George Washington as a secret agent for the British Crown. And it also said that make the timelines line up with what you're saying now about being York, because the Louisiana Purchase was in 1803, and so then it'd be 3 years later he get took out by Knights of Templar. So I don't know who took him out. They said he took off walking. The storyline they give, he took off walking, and then he came down with some kind of illness and died the same day. I was like, man, these people, they tell us whatever, you know.
But yeah, and 9 out of 10, it was a poison dart.
Probably, yeah.
from an air gun.
Yeah.
Then the air gun probably traced back to some tribe out of South America.
Yeah.
We was calling all tribes on deck.
Yeah, Big York traced back to. Oh.
You right over there?
Oh yeah, keep going, Rod. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So the tribes that came from everywhere, from South America and the islands, to fight in the Gullah Wars. And they used a legal system in a fractional reserve banking system after they closed all of our stuff down to it's a hostile takeover. It was a military invasion that was masqueraded as government expansion. But it was actually territory expansion of a foreign agency, a foreign government across the land of the people. Yep.
Hey, Rod, we're gonna keep on. What I was gonna tell you. We're gonna take some questions for the crowd. Hey, y'all, drop your comments in the crowd real quick in the chat.
What'd you say, Elder?
I say we're at the hour and 30-minute mark. We could take questions from the crowd. But you've been going in tonight, man. You just gave me some stuff on some more connections while I was trying to connect it, Ben York and Benjamin Banneker, because I was going to put that tape out. And so now you just gave me a couple.
That's who Ben York is.
Yeah, I heard that before, but now you just gave me the final piece that I need to tie in to put it together.
Mm-hmm. Look, who was the girl with Lewis and Clark?
That's what and who was the other dude that was with Ben York, the other black dude, or the other dude they said that was with him?
Look, Sacagawea was the girl that traveled with Ben York and Lewis and Clark.
Yeah, he had a
she
son.
had a son. And his son name was Jean-Baptiste, not Dusable, but it was something else. Jean-Baptiste. Oh, let me look it up.
And his son became chief, right? Of the Shoshone.
I'm about. That's where I'm going with this. I'm about to show y'all how the trick work.
Yeah, Sacagawea. They got a statue of her holding the baby.
Charbonneau.
Yeah.
Look, his name is Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau. Right? That's supposed to be her son with Ben York. Right now, the city of Chicago, which was there it's been there for thousands of years, but they credit it with a Jamaican, a Haitian dude, named Jean-Baptiste Dusable. Right? It's still in his identity. And they're using Charbonneau to do it. Because Charbonneau also was a resident of the territory that gave birth to the modern city of Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And they telling the Jean-Baptiste Dusable story because he could have been appointed by Sacagawea to the land right of the territory. Right. But he can't tell nobody he Ben York's son, because if they find out he Ben York's son, they know he's an imposter and an interloper.
Go ahead. Makes sense.
So they assigned it to this priest, a voodoo priest out of Haiti, and they changed his name. That ain't his birth name, wasn't Jean-Baptiste Dusable. Jean-Baptiste Dusable the sable mean black. It means John the Black Baptist is what it means.
Damn.
right? And the name Charbonneau, let me look up the meaning of it so I can read it to y'all.
Shabazar. That sounds like it's connected to the tribe of Shabazz or something. Because being York would be connected to the tribe of Shabazz, being that he was supposedly a Moor from West Africa. Or well, his dad was from West Africa. His mother was from Barbados. If you're going with the
Now
mother
check
line.
this out. Now remember, his name is John Baptiste du Sable. Now watch this. Charbonneau is the surname of French origin given for a coal merchant, or as nickname for someone with a dark complexion.
Go ahead.
Right? It's the same name.
Black John.
John the Black Baptist. Right? And they give his 18. So he was born after Du Sable, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
But their name mean the same thing. And both of them tied to the city of Chicago. That's how you usurp. Remember, Enlil named his sons after Enki's sons when Enki started getting the upper hand.
That's right.
So that when the posterity fight for Enki's son, they think they fighting for Enki's son all the time. They fighting for Enlil's son.
That's right.
Right. And this is how you know the difference. It's the same story today played out as this was written in them tablets thousands of years ago. But if you don't know the whole story, you won't be able to see it being played in your face. As soon as you go back and get them old stories, now when they playing in your face, you be like, man, y'all did that shit 10,000 years ago. Can't you find some other kind of way to try to deceive me now? It's old. Right. It's tired now. I know you don't still think it's going to work, but you still think it's going to work again. Right. So once we see it, you can't unsee it.
So how do we treat the colonizers now? Like do we treat them hostile? Do we treat them like, hey, we know and we just ain't gonna say nothing?
Okay, so now we got to go to why all these people came over here. That's a whole nother story separate from the political dynamic. Now we talk about diversification of genetic fields. We talking about the establishment of bloodlines of the future using the bloodlines of today. Right? You talking about tying into the vine. You talking about grafting off the vine. You talking about establishing different seeds for different lineages to progenerate. They call it the one-drop doctrine for a reason. And the story of the one-drop doctrine is in the Sumerian tablets, is where Enki is telling them how to cure the genetics of the humans with the defects created by Enlil's son, trying to play God, not knowing what he was doing. Right? Nergal, they call him from Nibiru to help fix the problem. And they say, did y'all ask Tahuti and Enki? And they said, we don't want to ask them. He said, I can't help you. So they banished him to the underworld, where he meet a Rishkagal. The story is not different. It's the same metaphorical story played out today, but using different characters to play the story out in modern times. Right? You got the puppet master. It's the same puppet master, even though the puppet is different. Right? He only got so many ways to play and pretend to be this particular puppet before it becomes, you can recognize even when the puppet changed that the character the same.
Right. Hey, so I was wondering why they were so interested in Chicago, because they said it was, that's when Chief Pontiac, that's what really the kickoff, the beginning of the wars. is with Chief Pontiac in the Michigan, Chicago area. And it seemed like to me they were trying to get tactical command of the water, the Great Lakes. That's a significant fresh water. I mean, that's a significant area right there for Native Americans in that land. So by starting with Chief Pontiac, and you come in as the embodiment of that spirit that was following on in, huh?
Yeah, I gotta solve his beef.
Yeah, it started right there with the Moors, right
Yeah,
there with the Moors, the British Moors. Yeah,
and the French. It was primarily the French.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, Detroit was the capital.
Go ahead.
The territory of Chief Pontiac stretched from Detroit to Chicago to Pontiac, Illinois.
Go ahead.
Right. We only had metropolises and villages. We didn't have sub-cities. Today, the tribes of the Flintstones, they still inhabit Flint, Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. We call them Flintstones is because they used to, not far from Flint, they used to mine Flintstone.
Go ahead.
This is where you get your cartoon characters from. Working in the rock mines. The rock mine became characteristic of the auto plants, and that's where the Union first started in Flint, Michigan. Right? It was triggered by the treaties of the Flint Indians with the Saginaw Indians and several other local tribes that people can't exploit you for your labor. This what gave rise to the labor unions. And the corporation, aka the government, hired corporate and the corporations, they hired protesters to protest the organizing of the labor force under the what's called guild principle, G-U-I-L-D. The guild principle was where all of the people that work in the profession stabilize the value of their workload. So that you can't be exploited, and I won't let nobody exploit you if you don't let nobody exploit me. This gave birth to your labor unions, but it started off as workers' guilds. Before it was workers' guild, it was family professions, where you pass down what your father did to the son, but people wanted to strike out on their own, so they wanted to be specialized in other areas. So you start out developing the guilds, which is the precursor to the skilled trades monitoring systems that gave birth to workers' unions. All of the workers' unions came from the organizing of workers' guilds before the unions was ever started. And this was agreements that tribes used to make on the land to maintain stable financial balance in the workload. That way, if this job deserves $8 an hour, right? For example, if it's 10 of us that know how to do it, we all should be paid $8 an hour to do this job, right? Now, just because we in different areas and we don't communicate, there's no standard of what we might charge. One of us might find that he's got a niche crowd where the demand is too high for him to do it at $8 an hour. He's going to do it for 10, which raises his stock value. But you might not have the same capability. So to compete with him, you have to decrease the value per hour that you making. Now this split the wages. Right? This is how you play two sides from the middle. Right? We overwhelm him with demand. He got to jack his prices up. For you to compete for survival, you have to lower your prices down. Right? But we still getting paid by the same people. Right? And the first time one of us have to lower our prices, we devalue the underlying production of what we produce. Right? Because this is how you end up in the auto industry, going from luxury car to economy car. What's the difference? They bought cars.
Yeah.
Right? They all charge a high percentage more than it take to make them in order for you to buy one. Like you can go, it might cost them $1,800 to build a Mazda G6. It's only gonna cost them $2,000 to build a Cadillac Escalade. The price of production is not that much different, right? But the economy cars is what you get the people to make in order to be able to make the Escalade at a higher value. Because now you're giving it back to the customer the way you paying out the wages.
Man, it's a game. Oh, it's like hand over fist. It's hustle and hand.
Yeah.
Let's go back to guns and butter. Guns and butter. It ties into the topic with everything you're saying. It ties into the topic. Guns versus butter. So it stands the reason the people who are passing out the butter and taking in the guns, it's got a systematic hand over fist hustle here, man. You got to figure out the hustle or you will get hustle. Seems like to me. Huh?
Yep. So it's the same with it. Any child going out in New York will be exposed to the kind games. He gonna walk past somebody playing 3-card money. He gonna walk past somebody playing 3-shell shuffle. Right? He gonna walk past somebody playing all these kinds. He gonna run past people that playing instruments with a hat out front of them, singing sometimes. He gonna walk across the people that made a creative drum set out of buckets and pans. Right? Just because everybody got a different ability. When you don't know what these games is, you become food for the environment. You get consumed. You always behind 2 steps behind what the environment is doing because you don't know the rules to the game. Remember what Tupac say? Once you get an understanding of the game and the rules of the game, right? Life ain't a struggle no more. It's a trick, and it's a trick to be played. Voila, pull a rabbit out the hat. Black girl magic, just like that. It's a return of the peace stones. When they tell you stone running, they talking about that's the law. G's govern it. We the politicians. They the enforcers. We the politicians. We the statesmen. Right? So when we rise up, we gotta be well versed in both of them, not to disrespect either of them. We all born off the Vice Lord line. Right? And all of this takes us back to unraveling who's who across the land. And how do we understand who we are faced with an enemy that look like us that ain't us? Right? It's hiding behind people that don't look like us, telling us that they the problem when they following the rules just like the rest of us is.
Right? It's that they keeping us in a spin, in a whirlwind, while they sit back and collect the guns. They collecting the guns and they put us on the butter where we can slip on the butter.
You remember when they say that the gypsies that come to town, they perform, they do crystal ball readings and read tarot cards for you, and people used to talk bad about the gypsies, right?
Yeah.
But there was another group of people in India called jugglers, and they had all these different magicians, right? And they all doing some fancy trick, and they come to town, it's like the circus. But it's less controlled than the circus. It looked like pure chaos.
Yeah.
Over here, you got to do balancing one finger on the bottle. right? Over there, you got a girl with a hula hoop doing backflips at 30 miles a minute, right? You got people juggling, swallowing swords, eating fire. All of this is just sensory overload coming to your local village, right? That's called the razzle dazzle.
Damn.
Right? Because when you come with the razzle dazzle, you have so many things going on at one time, and people that sensory deprived become sensory overloaded, and that delirium allow you to manipulate them out of their money. It's called the razzle dazzle. It's adopted from the old juggler circuses from before colonization of India, what we used to be called Hindustan.
Yeah,
And before that, it was, you know, Aethiops, but it was the ether, when they referred to it. Right. So what gave rise to Aethiops' burnt faces is also Latin aether, which is ether. Because you're jumping from two different cultures. The Greeks speak Greek. The Romans speak Latin. So when the Greeks is telling us about the land of the burnt faces, they was talking about the land of the sun faces,
right,
which is the manifest aether or ether,
right,
symbolized by the sun in this traverse across the sky. This is your story of the rise of the chief from Amen to Aten. But first you had to go through Kether, right? And as he ascends to the apex, which is Aten position, which is high noon in the old cowboy movies, it's the final showdown. It's almost 12 o'clock on the doomsday clock, right? And what Rakim say, he say, oh man, I forgot how he said it. I ain't gonna butcher his lyrics because he's too good for me to do that. But he was talking about the appearance of the seventh angel, right? And it was gonna be right in the nick of time to stop disaster. They over there talking, flirting with nuclear war, but the Galactic Council already said that if they tried nuclear war, they'd shut down all their war machines.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I'm like, go ahead, shoot another one up in the sky if you want to. They will immediately topple their old system. They ain't gonna do that.
They tried to shoot it up because they was testing them out of space, right? And they shot it up, and then one of them crabs just came out of nowhere, and the missile was flying at 15,000 miles an hour. It just came up, shot it like 3 times, deactivated it, darted off back into outer space. I said, man,
they didn't just do it once.
Yeah, a couple times.
They even have them. It was a reactor that was reaching critical mass for explosion. Right? They shut it off.
Damn.
They got a whole lot of recorded in the, especially when you go into that field of ufology.
Yeah.
They're very active around the nuclear plants because remember, we in this from nuclear war.
Yeah.
We coming out of the ice age that was an artificially induced ice age, right, which created another cycle inside of a cycle, inside of a cycle.
Right.
Right, which was a triple infinity loop. Right. So in order to get out of it, you have to play it all simultaneously from the fifth dimension, but it had to be acted out or descriptively displayed in the third dimension in order for it to finally come into fruition or for the power to take. In other words, the creator God's got to collapse the reality from the wave form to the particle form, from the possibility to the certainty. The waveform is infinite possibility, right? And the particle form is absolute probability. You're going from possibility to probability, the likelihood collapses the reality. And I'm telling you, we only here today because we used yesterday to get here, mentally speaking. All things are mind, made up of the contents of the mind. It's just our imagination running away again.
Just our imagination running away with me.
Now, what we trying to do now is find a sunshiny day. Right? And we just trying to get a little bit further after the pain. Because we all understood no pain, no gain. So we understood Betty when she called up to have a conversation woman to woman. But we was just children. We didn't know what we was listening to. Right? Then we heard them when they told us that tonight is the night. Right? And she want to make her a woman. In other words, the queen need to be crowned the queen in order for her to be seen. So they bring in all of the bees from the hive, the killer bees, which is the killer G's. The G's is the sevens. The sevens working for the twos. The twos is the sisters sending out the SOS. Because the sisters of the struggle activate the brothers of the struggle when the bully come around in order to go get his sister's stuff back. So when it's all said and done, it all comes back to one. And then you get back to the I-10, back to the high noon of it all.
Hey, bro. Right. We got about 3 minutes. Hey, man, if y'all want to show Brother Rod Hayes some love, we got his Cash App and his PayPal if you can't get the Cash App on the screen. And we'll take one. I got one more question for you, Rod. We got about 3 minutes. Somebody asked, could you go in on how important, and you probably went over this 1,000 times, but how important is the totem poles and how do they find, they said they want people asking about the totem poles and how do they find their tribal totem poles?
The tribes use totem poles. We make our own totem poles. You got to design your totem pole. The totem pole is it ties to your totem animal, which is your spirit animal. We didn't use flags. We were only using flags under the jurisdiction of Admiralty and Maritime that was doing a salvage operation on the land. And wherever the ship landed, he had to fly a flag. That's why they got an American flag in every state capital, wherever the state capital building is. Right? And in order to tell you who was conquered, they put the state flag under the United States flag so you know that this territory was conquered by the corporation known as the United States. And they used the postal zones to parcel out the land in order to determine how to break the land up. So the totem poles used to tell more information than the flag, and it used to tell you how your tribe is affiliated with the land.
So like an address for your tribe.
Yeah, but we normally used to keep them at what's called great junctions. Great junctions was travel paths, right? When you get to a travel path, in order to know if you're in hostile territory or friendly territory, you have to know the totem of the people that you're at peace with and at war with, right? So you can use the totem poles that the local tribe produce, because it's local tribes in every city and every tribe's not far from you that's still doing tribal stuff on the land. And we even have ceremonial tribes to make sure that some of this stuff is still being done. The ceremonial tribes that's working with us, because there's a lot of them, you know, because they have no problem with us saying we the original people of the land, and they will also tell you that. But the imposter interloper tribes are the ones that gets dismayed by us telling y'all that we the original people of the land. Right? So your totem pole is absolute definitive that you from the land and that you don't honor the law of the flag, you honor the law of the totem pole, which ties to the original tribes.
Hey, fire, man. And on that note, we're at the 2 o'clock mark and we can close it out. Hey, bro, you got anything you want to say before we get up out of here?
No, just we
appreciate all the love, the support, the new subscribers, the new members, everything, man. We are the comments, the people been going ham on the comments with the love, man. So I definitely appreciate all y'all. And we just getting started, man. We ain't even warmed up yet. So I want to get this thing cracking without a further ado. So Big Chief, man, appreciate you for having me. I mean, for coming on again and joining us, by Brother B-Dale 2 times in 1 week. I appreciate you too as well, brother.
you know, we here to bang bang and shake the brain on this 2-ball cane thug thing. You know what I'm saying? You know, they put certain people together. It's like mixing the right chemicals to make a bond, baby. We here about to shake it up. You know, we just gonna be kicking the game to us, but to other people, they gonna learn something.
Yes, sir, and they learning a lot too, man. That's real. That's real. I tell you what, listen, I want to jump right in too because I got to check out your video you just put, I think like yesterday or the day before, B-Dale, and then Brother Ryan, I've been seeing your stuff you've been dropping. So look, just that alone is enough for me to go. But you know, with the posts I've been seeing from you on Facebook, Ryan, and then B-Dale with your stream you just did, I think yesterday, when it comes to the thing called Gematria, right? I know there's been a lot of dates that we're seeing that's got a lot of significance to them. So with today being 6/6, right? And then with it being a 9-year, and since the last time I spoke to both of y'all, I done seen earthquakes, volcanoes, I done seen goddamn hailstorms, ice storms in Florida, I done seen red orbs in Florida, I've seen the gold melting in Hawaii. Like it's a whole lot going on, boy, since the last time we talked. So if I didn't know no better, I definitely would say it is Mamageddon, and the matriarchs have returned. So when it goes to the mothers, and let's just go with the number 6/6. What is that kind of bringing us to when we're talking about this day and time, brother B-Dale, with the Gematria aspects?
Well, when you get into Vedic Gematria, the Gematria system is connected to the binary code system of the matrix. So that's why everything within the simulation, it has a number, and that number operates on the system of a cycle. So that's why if you notice everything in as far as like historical context and biblical context, there's always a cycle and a transitional shift that takes place that's also corresponding with the numerical system that is acclimated to the event or whatever agenda or whatever type of black swan orchestration that they're trying to perpetuate to carry out a certain agenda as far as like, you know, totalitarian system. So everything as far as like, for instance, like around this time last year, the boxer Garcia, I forgot his name, but he said something about an earthquake was going to be taking place on June 6th. So the same thing actually translates to now because we just have earthquakes going on and on the Seamount Axle over in that area. You got the volcanoes, Mount Etna. You got all these things happening at one time because Mother Nature is being turned on. So that's, like I said, everything corresponds with, you know, those solar eclipses that took place from 2017, 2023, and 2024. Those 3 solar eclipses corresponds with the energies of nature that's taking place right now. So that's why I said Earth has a chakra system. So when you have those neutrinos collaborating to the planet, it's going to activate that Kundalini serpent. So we, like you said, we're in a 9 years. So that's like a mirror flip what Rod would say. A 9 is basically a 6. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking at, so the numerical codex in itself is also, it has an octave vibration. Numbers have different dimensional realities to them. If you ever notice about time traveling, I learned this